All right, today it's me and my buddy Ron, Little Bear Barons. We are gonna be headed to the pond, try to catch them. Ron caught 2 right off the dock yesterday. It was pretty cool. There he is. Ron is here and alive. There she is again.
Just because you're good at editing now,
Here she
comes. Edit out anyway. Just doing it.
Huh?
She just lights up her room.
she just does. Her attitude lit. Her attitude lit. Damn. Damn.
That's it.
Happy Mother's Day, boo.
You're welcome.
There we go.
Hey Brandon, I think we got like a 4-pounder.
Yeah, dude.
Like the biggest that I've caught, she's 307. 6.2 is the biggest. Oh my. This is absolutely cool.
What is going on, guys? It is mid-June. You guys know what that means. These fish are basically in full spawn mode out on Mille Lacs. They're basically in full spawn. Fish, there's still definitely some pre-spawners to be had. You know, I'm still catching them here and there. And, you know, right now fishing is great. When those fish are up shallow, the weather's right, they're definitely gonna feed. I was just out on Friday and I caught well over 30 fish with over a dozen being over 4 pounds. So, you know, whipping the fly around, catching them, getting some good bites, it definitely makes for an awesome time. Had clients out that same week and we absolutely whacked them. So the guys from Missouri, you know, kept those guys happy, and hopefully Phil and Alvin went home with some sore wrists. So let's get started. You know, I want to talk about what's happening right now and what's about to happen. So in the next couple weeks, I really think that these fish are going to be mostly post-spawn. And with that being said, a lot of people struggle during this time, including myself a little bit. So a couple things to really get yourself out of that slump and get yourself to a point to where you can actually catch these guys. You know, I personally, that initial post-spawn, I think that those fish don't go very far from the spawning grounds. I think that they stick around that kind of general area, usually on the deep side of the rock veins. Some of them are gonna move shallow. In my opinion, there is definitely a school of fish that will stay shallow all year, and there's fish that'll move deep and stay there all year, and then there's going to be your schools of fish that will transition back and forth depending on what the weather's doing. And so for sure, different schools of fish to target out there, and definitely different opportunities depending on what exactly it is that you're trying to accomplish out there. But in the next up and coming weeks, I'm going to be spending my time probably somewhere in between that 15 to 20 foot range targeting fish. And, you know, I'm going to be looking for boulders. Obviously, you know, boulder fields, single boulders, stuff like that. I'm really going to be targeting those areas and going to be using, you know, a Ned rig or a drop shot, those finesse style baits, maybe in a football jig, tube, stuff like that. And then for the fish that are up shallow, there's going to be days when I think that the fish that are in that shallower water around those, you know, isolated boulders, rock, those fish are actually going to bite probably better than the fish that are out deep. There's going to be days where you have that depending on the weather. So I want to start off with the shallow water bite and some baits that are outside the box. You know, we all know about the Ned rig and the drop shot, so I don't want to bore you with that yet. I'm gonna talk about some baits that I've started using just basically due to being able to see those fish on live scope and being able to see their reactions. It kind of gave me the confidence to try some stuff that I typically wouldn't try. And this is coming over the course of the last couple years. So first off, start off with the topwater bite. You know, the other night, last Friday, I did get into some fish on some topwater action and it was pretty awesome. So start off with the rod and the reel. You know, this is the Toxic Elite, or actually, sorry, this is the Toxic Tournament grade rod. And this is an awesome rod. You know, it's a do-it-all rod, multi-purpose rod. It's perfect for the guy on the budget like me. A rod that can handle several different techniques. You know, I would throw a football jig, topwater, spinnerbait, fluke, all kinds of different techniques that you can use with this rod. It's for sure very adequate for that. Very sensitive, very light, and casts awesome. So this is a 7'3" Toxic Tournament grade rod. And the bait that I'm throwing on this, well, actually, let's go to the reel. Toxic Elite Tournament grade rod. The reel that I'm using, Daiwa Tatula 7'3". I'm running all 15-pound fluorocarbon on it. Fluorocarbon just to give me a little spongier feel, you know, not ripping these hooks out of that fish's mouth when they strike. Top water, you definitely got to be a little bit more gentle to them. I don't like swinging on them super hard. I let the hooks, the rod, and the reel kind of do the work. That's my philosophy around smallmouth fishing, to make sure that they stay pinned. 6 cents popper, I don't know the exact name for it. As you can see, there's a hook missing out of the back of it. It's the only one that I had laying around. Accidentally clipped this thing. I got a fish really good and he stayed pinned. So both these hooks got to get changed out. I would say that we're looking for a calm day and I can visibly see fish feeding on the surface. That's when I'm gonna bust this thing out and give it a try. I'm not being really aggressive with it. I'm actually being fairly subtle. So I might throw it out, give it a couple nice firm pops, let it sit. Throw it out, give it a couple nice firm pops and let it sit. I'm not working this thing and overworking it, but this is definitely one of my favorite baits to get bite on. Top water. Next, I know that a lot of people put that jerk bait away after the pre-spawn slash, you know, spawn goes on. A lot of people want to put that jerk bait away, and for me, I actually pick it up. So, you know, I downsize. This is a Mega Bass Vision 110 Junior. In my opinion, best jerk bait in the game, and I feel like this is gonna get you more strikes than the full-size Vision 110. Get to the rod. This is a Toxic Elite jerk bait rod, probably the nicest jerk bait rod that I've ever held in my hand. Perfect bend on it. It's a 6'9". You don't have to worry. You know, I'm a shorter guy. I'm 5'8". I don't like it when I bang my rod off the deck. I definitely don't get tennis elbow from when I use it all day long. Don't have to put a whole lot of effort into the initial movement to get that bait to actually jerk, and perfect on the recoil. The rod that I'm using, Daiwa Tatula CT 6'3", 10-pound test fluoro. The lighter fluoro you go, the better action you're gonna get out of your bait, the deeper that you're gonna get to go. You know, if you're using a Vision 110 +1 or any kind of +1 jerk bait, you are gonna get it far deeper on 10-pound than you are with 12 or 15. That's kind of my go-to. 10-pound, the lighter the line, the deeper that bait's gonna go and the more action you're gonna get out of the bait. Use this a bunch. I've used this a bunch for post spawners already. And as you guys can see, I'll show you, that paint is 8ing up. And you know, I definitely have my favorite colors with this lineup, but this is for sure one of my favorites. You know, anything with purple in it, any variation of purple I really like. For sure a good post-spawn technique. Now, even in the summertime, when those fish get up shallow, you got those calm days, no wind, super hot, you know, I'm gonna use this bait and poke me a big one with it. And they come unglued on it, and I have all the confidence in the world getting up on that flat. And the warmer the water, the faster you can move it. You know, I can't tell you how fast that I move this bait. I get pretty wicked with it as far as the cadence goes, making sure that I can attract those fish in coming in. It's got great draw power. I can get those fish sucked in. And if nothing else, I can get them to follow it up to the boat. Maybe they bring a few friends to reveal themselves and reveal their location. I swing around, maybe throw a Ned rig on them if I can't get them to bite. So Another bait that I don't think it's talked about a lot. I didn't really want to expose this bait, but MLF came up here and they definitely, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he caught a lot of weight on this next bait. So I don't mind showing it, and that is the jackhammer chatterbait. You know, I'm throwing a 1/2 ounce jackhammer chatterbait. I feel like that's the perfect weight for the bait. I can get it out there, get it to go deep enough. The way that I'm cranking this bait is I'm cranking it so slow, man. I'm talking so dang slow, to the point to where it's barely vibrating. And you want that vibration in the bait. That's what attracts a strike, but I'm cranking it very, very, very slow. From what I saw on LiveScope last year, the way that these fish react to this thing is unbelievable. Now, you're either gonna get bit or you're not, obviously, but you can almost tell immediately by the reaction of the fish if they're gonna bite it or not, just by it falling down on them, from what I noticed. And that's probably some juice I shouldn't give you, but you'll know right away if this is the bait or not. Now, I like green pumpkin. This is a Z-Man Razor Shad. I do like green pumpkin. As you can see, this thing has gotten destroyed. But I also like that white color that I got right here. This is a freaking sweet color out there. I don't know what color it actually is in the jackhammer lineup, but this is definitely a great way to go too out there. I like this for more cloudier, or for more sunnier days, and I like this for cloudier days. I know that kind of sounds backwards, but that's how I like it. It seems like I get bit in that sequence. Next, and these are great summertime baits, post-spawn baits too, but definitely great summertime baits, especially that chatterbait. Very good summertime bait. Next, for the post-spawn blues, sometimes you need something super subtle. Now, I personally am not really a big spy bait guy. I lose them a lot. Not saying it doesn't work, but I feel like I shake off almost every fish that I hook up. My hookup percentage on that is like 12%, which is not very good. Hair jig rod. Cut out last time, last sequence. There's several ways to fish this. I don't believe that there's a wrong way to fish it. However, my way that I like to fish it is based on how those fish are positioned and how they're feeding. So when I see them starting to rise up off bottom, that tells me one thing, that they're starting to feed upwards. When they're feeding upwards, my go-to with this bait is to actually swim it through the water column, keep it up off the bottom, and get them to follow it up. Now, this bait has awesome, significant draw power. It gets those fish to key in on it. You might see 7, 8 fish following it going up to your bait. That's very good. That's a very big suggestion from me to you to say, look down, keep your eyes peeled to the bottom, make sure that you're always watching it, because you never know when you're gonna have that wolf pack come up and follow it up to the boat. There's also some other stuff that you can do with it. I hear guys towing it. That's not a big thing for me. I like casting, but one thing that you can do with this, you can cast it behind the boat, have your trolling motor going about 1 to 1.3 miles per hour, chuck that thing out there and just hold it. That's definitely gonna get you bites, hands down. I will do that sometimes when I'm trying to scan a big area out and I'm kind of bored. I'll throw it out, I'll set my hummingbird on side imaging, and I'll set my trolling motor out, and that's how I'm side imaging these shallower areas. If I want to have something to do and I'm not wanting to sit at my console, I want to sit up at the front of the deck and look for beds. I can multitask that. I can look for beds, kind of side image at the same time, get a look at the flap and tow hair and get bites at the same time. You're killing many birds with one stone, and it's kind of makes the whole process a little bit funner if you're not liking to scan and do all the research and stuff. So get to the rod. You know, this is a Toxic Elite 8-foot hair jig rod. This is the medium. We do have a medium light version. I got my hands on that medium light version the other day. My buddy Steven from Louisiana came up and he let me check out his that he just bought. Man, is that thing light. I even got to catch a fish on it. It is one of the lightest 8-foot rods that I've ever held in my life. You know, this one is 8 foot too as well. The 8-foot helps you get that bait way away from the boat. You know, we're dealing with springtime, cold water. The farther you get this thing away from the boat, the more bites you're gonna get. I remember when I first started throwing a hair jig, it was definitely on the wrong style rod, which made it to where I could cast this bait like 20 feet. This definitely changed the game. It made it to where I could cast it super far, but you do want the newer version. That's the 8-foot Toxic Elite medium light. It's for sure competes with the best hair jig blanks on the market, without a doubt. So reel that I'm using is a Daiwa Tatula 4000. This is the discontinued model, but is the Daiwa Tatula 4000 LT. It is freaking sweet. I like a 4000 reel. I'm honestly thinking that I'm going to be converting a lot of my setups into 4000s. Clients seem to really love them. For sure, like putting this setup into their hands. And now we got the bait. The bait is an Outcast Tackle Fighter Fly. Some of you guys might know Seth. He likes throwing this bait from what I hear. But I use an 1/8 ounce. Some guys like putting that little piece of Senko out to be able to get it further. I actually leave the Senko off of it. I think that it can stay a little bit more buoyant without it. And with this rod, I don't really worry about casting distance. I can still get this out there without that. So I like to leave it bare. And before I cast it for my first cast, I like to get her, I dunk her in the water to get her a little wet, give her a little extra weight. That's what gets that bait out there. So excellent post-spawn bait for sure. Next, we got the tried and true. Now, this is one of the few baits that's gonna catch them pre, post, summer, fall, winter even. This is a Ned rig. So you guys all know I love throwing me a Ned rig, and I get more bites on this, hands down, bait for bait, out of any bait in my rod locker. I have tons of stuff in here, and this is what I trust by far the most. So let's start with the rod. So this is a Toxic Elite 7'3", fast action. I'm running a Daiwa Kage 3000 MQ, 10-pound braid, 10-pound leader, and I'm throwing an Outcast Tackle Perfect Ned with the Somatis Baits hollow tip worm. I've been raving about this hollow tip worm. It straight up gets bit, guys. This is my favorite color right now. It's called Champ. You guys can get it at somatisbaits.com. I'll put a code in there up at the top of my link to where you guys can save 10% on your first pack. It is for sure one of the sweetest baits. It makes a little whistle sound when you throw it out. The hollow tip makes that bait stand up. And you know, the way I like to fish a Ned rig is I almost power fish it. I've talked about it in another video that I put out. I bounce that thing a lot, you know, slightly. I keep a light hand with it. If I start getting snagged on rocks, that's when that light hand really helps me out. When I snag on rocks, I definitely don't peel and sit there and make this motion over and over and over again. All that's doing is driving that hook further into the rock. You know, some of those rocks have a little bit softer surface on them from the moss and the algae or whatever gets built up on it. And so really what you're doing when you make the same repetitive motion over and over again is it's actually driving that hook into the rock further and further and further, which makes it impossible to get out. So for sure my favorite bait in the boat, and I power fish this thing. I'm moving it the whole time. You get snagged less. And a lot of that has to do, with the cadence of the bait, as well as the design of the head. This is the Josh Douglas Perfect Ned. It's got a rounder head, and the round actually goes up and forms a flat surface at the top, which is smaller than a lot of the competitors, which A, keeps that bait standing up longer, and B, gets it snagged less, not having that sharp edge on the top. Next, one of my favorite shallow water techniques is a spinner bait. And I hear guys throwing it out deeper, slow rolling it, maybe using ounces, 3/4 ounces. This is the Mega Bass. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm not gonna try, but it's a Mega Bass spinner bait, 3/8. For my trailer, I'm running a Mega Bass Spark Shad, or Toxic tournament grade rod. And again, that multi-purpose rod allows me to do pretty much whatever I want with it. This rod is perfect for running this technique. I'm using 20-pound braid to a 20-pound leader, and I'm throwing this thing up shallow. I love burning it. I love getting those fish to react on it. I'm not really a slow roller when it comes to the spinnerbait. I love burning this thing. I think that it turns those fish on. It turns a negative fish into a positive fish real quick, like that flash. Gets them to lock onto it. Much like the hair jig, this has got a lot of draw power to it, and it will get those fish to follow, much like an A-rig. So This was a technique, much like the chatterbait. It's almost like you can tell when the bait's falling on them if they're gonna bite it or not by the way they react to it so fast and quick like. So sometimes you get the whole school fish to come up and follow and chase this thing. You'd be surprised how many times when I would be reeling this in and the bait would start to travel like this and start to come up, that's what triggered the strike, is when the bait started to travel up. If you do have forward facing sonar, watch how these fish react to this thing, and you won't want to put it down when the bite becomes shallow in the summertime. Next, popular bait that people like to throw, football jig. You know, when we're talking football jigs, I use a 7'6" Toxic Elite, medium light. This is an awesome bait. You know, I throw this thing deep, I throw this thing shallow, it gets big bites. And I'm throwing it with a Daiwa Tatula Elite 7'1" on a 7'6" Toxic Elite. Perfect football jig. Carolina rig rod as well. Awesome rod. What's up, dude?
Out at the lake.
It's gonna be a minute.
Not today, huh?
Not today. All right, guys, next. We got a finesse bait that, you know, those smallmouth, they get weird in the summertime and they get tough to catch. Even in post spawn, this bait can definitely shine. We're talking drop shot. You know, this is the same rod that I was throwing, that I have clients throwing jerk baits with. I throw jerk baits with it myself, the smaller ones when I really want them to go far. And great jerk bait rod, really awesome drop shot rod too as well. 7 foot, I don't like shorter ones. I like a little bit longer. 7 foot. Same deal, 10-pound braid, 10-pound leader, and I'm running an owner cover shot number 2 with a Somatis shot 3 1/4. This bait stays nice and horizontal in the water, comes up. I thread that bait on the hook like so. Definitely get more bites off the same bait instead of having them tear all the time. This Somatis shot color is called Perch. Next, a bait that I don't use enough, and I'm probably gonna be getting into it a little bit more this year, and that is gonna be the football jig. You know, the football jig is a great way to get big bites. I get big bites with the football jig when I do use it. We'll start off with the rod though. This is a 7'6" Toxic Elite, ultra sensitive, man. You can definitely tell what bottom you're on. You can tell when a fish takes the slightest nip of it and when they actually got a hold of it. The 7'6" gives you the length, really get that bait out there. You get hung on rocks, you got the leverage to get it out. Ultra sensitive, fast action tip. I'm running it with a Daiwa Tatula Elite 7'1", 20-pound braid to a 20-pound leader. You know, I like running that braided leader, especially with all that rock out there. Some situations when the rock isn't as snaggy, I will like using 20-pound fluoro through and through, or 17-pound fluoro through and through. But in this specific application for smallmouth bass on Mille Lacs, I like that 20-pound braid to a 20-pound leader. FG not connected to get a longer leader out of the deal. I'll fish this shallow and I'll fish it deep. When I fish it shallow, I like a 3/8 ounce football jig, and when I fish it deep, I either like a 1/2 or a 3/4. The trailer that I'm using is a Somatis Baits Chromatis. The color is green pumpkin. And there those. Definitely a sweet bait. It's got a lot of action to it. Big flappers on there to really get those big bites, entice those big fish. Football jigs, big jigs catch big fish, hands down. Jigs are for pigs, and this is definitely one of my go-tos. You know, I've only gotten a few bites on this jig this year, but typically what I'll do is I'll actually cut the skirt down just a little bit. So, but the bites that I have gotten, you know, I caught them pre-spawn with it a little bit. I didn't mess with it a ton because I don't feel like I get as many bites with it. But like I said, the bites that you do get are for sure bigger. So the jig that I'm using is an Outcast Tackle Elite football jig. Little divot on there keeps it standing up, O'Shaughnessy hook, and just a sweet jig altogether. The hookup ratio on this jig is unbelievable too. You seems like you pin them pretty good. I like to either sweep set this or snap set it. You can do either or, but you don't have to. This Shiny Sea hook's a little bit thinner, so you don't have to give it the beans. You can actually just swipe at it and they will get it good. Next is a wacky piece of plastic, man. This is a Senko. Everybody grew up throwing Senkos for bass, and it's, you know, smallmouth are no different. They will eat this thing, especially on those slow days. Sometimes you just need something that's slow, that's gonna fall nice and subtle and entice those fish to bite. This is definitely gonna get the job done. I'm running a 7'6" Toxic Elite. That 7'6", I wanted to try it this year. I wanted to try a bottom contact rod that had a little bit more length to it. And let me tell you, man, I don't regret it. Gives you incredible leverage over the fish. Run it with a Daiwa Exist 3000. This is the older model, so it is actually like more of a 4000 series size spool. Picks up line really fast, but 10-pound braid to a 10-pound leader. And I'm running an Owner. This is the Owner SSV hook, and it is razor sharp. One of my favorite ways to wacky rig a piece of plastic. And last but not least, we got the crankbait. Now, I don't have one tied up right now because it's not summertime. So I actually have the rod right here with no reel. But what I'm gonna do, this is a 7'4" Toxic Elite cranking rod. It is a medium as opposed to my chatterbait rod. It's the chatterbait rod's little brother. 7'4" though, medium and fiberglass. So high quality fiberglass, S-class. It's really important. I don't think you're gonna find a fiberglass rod that's much more sensitive than this, and light too at the same time. So I love this rod. I love it as a chatterbait rod. It's big brother, but a cranking rod, it's just as good. You know, I'm running 12-pound fluorocarbon. Get that bait down there, get it to dive where it needs to go. And I use a Daiwa Tatula CT 6'1" or 6'3" with 12-pound fluoro on it. And the crankbaits that I like to run are most of the time either gonna be a Rapala DT of some sort. So I don't remember what this is called. I think it's called Caribbean Shad. It's pretty old. I think this crankbait's probably older than a lot of you guys watching this. But this is a crankbait that I really like. And then here's another Rapala DT that's custom painted from my buddy Brian. Brian Casey sent me a couple crankbaits in the mail this year. Sent them to me as a gift. I really appreciate it, Brian. You for sure bet that I'm gonna be throwing this baby. So that's what it looks like. And I like running a crankbait, you know, up in that, you know, 12, 16 feet, sometimes even a little bit shallower. But that's when I think that the fish are sticky and I really want to get them to react to the bait and follow it. So with smallmouth, I think that it's not as quite as important to get this thing to touch bottom and to be crunching on rock. Not as important as it is for largemouth. I think that smallmouth feed up a lot more, and that gives you the opportunity to use these things. And based off of what I've seen on LiveScope, I've watched them shoot up off bottom for this thing. It is absolutely incredible when they do that. So I'm not as afraid as before when it's not grinding on rock. It doesn't even bother me as much as it did before because I've watched the way that these fish react to this thing. And even when you get it around them or near them, you will get one to lock on it and follow it. So this does have draw power too, and it for sure works. So those are my baits. You know, like I said, in the next 2 weeks, we're gonna be seeing these fish transition to summer patterns. They're gonna start going up deep. That scope of baits is really gonna widen up. That's really what I like about summertime. Don't be afraid to try stuff. Utilize that forward-facing sonar. If you really need confidence, know that you're around the fish and try different stuff, man. That's what I did all year last year, was try all kinds of different baits that I normally wouldn't throw. Usually for smallmouth, I've always been about finesse-y type stuff, drop shots, swim baits, Ned rigs, stuff of that matter, even the hover rig. But that's your Mille Lacs report. Utilize this stuff, guys. Get out there. I've gotten awesome feedback on these videos, and it helps people out a lot. So, you know, what I'm gonna be doing, a lot of side imaging. I strongly suggest, man, that when you get here, you for sure take laps around the lake and try to figure stuff out, and you'll definitely, you won't be pissed about it. You will find some spots that are looking good to fish. You know, isolated boulders, boulder fields, you know, where there's probably some good sized rock around. I'm also looking at transitions too at specific times. in the summertime. I'm looking for that gravel to rock or you know, sand to rock type stuff. I'm looking for those transitions too as well. Don't throw anything out the window. If you don't know, you definitely should go try it and you might be surprised. So yeah, if you guys want to book a trip, you guys know where to find me. Hit me up on my social media platforms, DM me, Facebook or Instagram, Sam Rardin Fishing. We'll see you guys soon.
I've lost count. It's around 16 or 17 so far.
All right, boys, we just made it to the lake. I am pretty excited. We're gonna get after it right now. Better put the plug in right now, though. That'd be a bad start to the day. I think we're gonna pound on some brown ones, though. Let's do this.